Hey there, it's Tony Ryan again, back. We're going to talk about my Fremo modules. Now, I made the decision after the last setup that I was going to scrap these, was what I told the guys. Scrap these two modules. These are my Columbia Coldstor modules. And I think a couple of them were very concerned about why was I getting rid of these modules. And I'm going to rebuild them. I'm going to build them the same basic track platform, but before I scrap them out, I thought I'd go over what I'm going to do and why I want to rebuild them. First thing, this is code 70 Shinohara track, and that is not to the Fremo N standard, so I'm going to get rid of that. Secondly, I built this module is only 12 inches wide through here. Let me turn this around. So this section right here is just 12 inches wide. Because I built this as a test bed to try different things, see if I could build a module, that sort of stuff, I used pretty much just stuff that I had on hand. So there's little pieces of plywood that I had to put on reinforcing, and I used this plastic that I salvaged, which turns out it's polypropylene, so really nothing sticks to it. It's not all that stiff for fascia. It doesn't add any rigidity. It doesn't adhere to the foam well. There's just a lot of problems with the materials that I used. So that's 2 counts against this. I didn't have any birch plywood, so this is just 3/4 inch fir plywood that I had laying around, and they're okay, but they're not to spec. And again, since they're only 12 inches wide, it's like a mini mow kind of a module. The third thing that I'm not real happy with is this was my first method of trying to get a leg system. So I put a dowel, which I glued in here, and then I'm using a cable, or not a conduit clamp. And it just, because it sits out so far, it's too flimsy. It allows too much flex. It's not rigid enough. And I'm not real happy with that. And to redo it, if I'm going to redo all this other stuff, there's no reason to keep all of that. Another thing that I didn't plan on, or didn't accurately plan, was where this face and this branch line takes off. The face here is 12 inches. Well, the face where the branch line takes off, I made 18 inches. But I made it just 18 inches. So when another 18-inch module tries to butt up here, and we've got another 12-incher over here, there's no room. If the guys built their face plates to 18 inches and then added a fascia on it, we get some interference right here. So I should have left like a 2-inch buffer between this and this face to allow us a little more flexibility in joining our modules up. The area that I want to model, I'm going to rebuild these, basically the same track configuration, but I'm going to make this section 18 inches wide. That'll allow me to put the pond that's supposed to sit here, and the drainage ditch, and other details that should be in here, and give me a little bit more room for my building and to model some other stuff on the outside. So it'll be a much nicer module once I'm done. The other thing that there's a lot of problems with this thing, the overall length, because I wasn't sure what I was doing, I cut a 4-foot long piece of foam and glued my end plates onto it. Well, that means my fascia material has to be longer than 4 feet, and so I have a splice right here. So when I remake the new module, they will be 4 foot overall length or a little bit less, so that I have some Luan plywood here that I'm planning on using as fascia material, and that it's much more rigid. I won't need these reinforcing things that are kind of an afterthought, and I will use a Luan deck underneath the foam just to help keep it rigid. We ran into some problems with thermal expansion or contraction, one of the two, and a couple, not on these modules, but on my extension modules, the track developed a sun kink, which I'd never had happen before. So I can reuse the track bus wiring. I can reuse my wiring for the LocoNet and my auxiliary bus wiring. All of that stuff I'm going to be able to salvage. I will salvage the track and pull it off because I have a plan for another layout that for my granddaughter, so I can use these turnouts and this track for her, but I want to be more compliant than I have been in the past with my Fremo modules. So that's why these two are getting rebuilt. And the other thing on the extension modules, these two guys, these go on the ends of that one, and I can probably salvage them. Now they taper from 12 inches at the far end to 18 inches wide at this end, but I'm thinking that I will make them just straight 12-inch wide, but right now these two modules together form a 30-degree curve, so there's only 15 degrees of curvature in the two modules. And after our last setup, the sizes of areas and how much room we have to set up in, it just makes more sense to build a slightly tighter curve than what we've done. I'm not going to be approaching minimum radius for Fremo. I'll still be like 36-inch radius, which is plenty big for N scale. But I think I can trim down the outside of the foam, make it 12 inches all the way along, but I'm going to add a passing track, and the two modules together will form a 90-degree curve. So this will be reworked a little bit and give us some more passing tracks, which we need. These will also, right now, these were just built as quickie modules to give us some more room, but they need to have LocoNet and LocoNet panels installed on them. But I do like, one thing I do like about these is I use PVC pipe with a thumb screw for my leg pockets, and that's worked out really good. And I will be able to resalvage this end plate and the far end plates on these two modules. So I'll use this for my end plate for my new Coldstor modules, and then I got two more 18-inch end plates, and I need to build another two 12-inch end plates to rework this. So that's the plan, and we'll end up with a much nicer set of modules. I can salvage all my trees, and I only got a little bit of Sculptamold and some paint and stuff. The other thing that I want to do is, you can see I just used a regular foam plate, standard outlet plate for my patch panel for the throttles, and it's getting kind of scabbed up. So what I want to do is find, once I get the other ones built, I'm going to put some half round here and here along the bottom edge to form a loading rib to keep the fascia up off. So if it gets a little scuffed up on that rib, I can touch it up with a Marco or something like that and keep the fascia looking pretty good, because I plan on putting the labeling it with the location and my name and our Pacific Northwest Fremo N group on there. And that would help it keep from getting scratched up and give it a little more rigidity. And it gives you a little, if you mount it here and I notch the back of it, it'll give me a little spot for my building flat or my fascia above the deck to sit into. So that's what I'm out here doing tonight. I'm going to tear apart a couple modules and salvage stuff and make a dumpster trip. So talk to you later. Alright, so there they are, stripped to the bones. Pile of Pico turnouts and some usable Shinohara Flex Track. All the wiring and hardware is in that pile. And it's ready for the scrap bin. I don't think there's much else I can salvage on those two. I'm sure you can use some of the foam if you wanted to make mountains or whatever, and I may do that. Chunk some little pile. Pick some little chunks to stick trees in or something. But yeah, it's all going to be recycled. Okay, so the real trick's going to be getting these two reconstructed for March, which is our next setup. And I think I'll just do two at a time. So, talk to you next time.